A lot of the players say they want an invite. It looks beautiful.
Mine is they're gonna build it, so it's gonna take like 1 year, 1 year and a half. So I'm super excited about it.
$9 million, say it slowly, $9 million. For most of the planet, that's a generational fortune. For Carlos Alcaraz, it was the price tag on a boat. 88 feet of custom-built luxury. A Sunreef Ultima 88 catamaran, designed to his exact specifications, signed for in the spring of 2026, weeks after a deflating loss in Miami, reportedly so the most relentless young athlete in tennis could finally have somewhere to disappear when the tour stopped chewing him up. A floating escape hatch. The moment news of the yacht broke, the tennis world split clean in half. To one camp, this was a 23-year-old multimillionaire spending his own hard-earned money however he pleased, completely his right. To another, louder than you'd expect, that yacht became Exhibit A in a case that's been building against Carlos Alcaraz for over a year. That the most gifted player of his generation is getting distracted, going soft, trading the grind for the good life. It pulled in legendary names, an Italian coach who built champions, a Grand Slam winner turned pundit. Even the ghost of how Toni Nadal once raised a young Rafa got dragged in. Suddenly, a boat wasn't a boat. It was a referendum on whether Carlos Alcaraz still wants it badly enough. Sitting in the middle of it, refusing to play the villain everyone wanted him to be, was the one man who'd know better than anybody whether Alcaraz had truly lost his edge, his former coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero. So this is the story of a $9 million yacht and the much bigger question it cracked open. Is Carlos Alcaraz drifting, or is everyone just uncomfortable watching a young champion enjoy the empire he built? Let's put the whole thing on trial. The prosecution's case is older than the yacht. For over a year, a quiet argument has trailed Carlos Alcaraz. That somewhere between winning everything and becoming a global brand, he started easing his foot off the gas. The whispers were always there. The parties, the packed off-court calendar, the lifestyle that looked a little too good for a man supposedly obsessed with being the greatest of all time. When Alcaraz split with Ferrero at the end of 2025, reporting tied the breakup, in part, to exactly this: disagreements over his off-court life and his ability to stay locked in for a full 11 months. The breakup was brutal, a reported 48-hour ultimatum that ended 7 years together. So when a $9 million yacht surfaced, the prosecution didn't see a reward. It saw a confession. Their star witness was Riccardo Piatti, a respected Italian coach who's worked with Djokovic and helped shape Sinner. Piatti took one look at the purchase and made the cut that stung most. If Ferrero were still running the show, that boat never gets bought. Then he reached for the comparison that turned a joke into an indictment: Toni Nadal. Toni, the architect of Rafa's 22 majors, was famous for one rule above all: strip away the distractions. The story goes he kept a young Rafael Nadal from buying a boat for exactly that reason. A champion's focus is fragile, and toys are how you lose it. Piatti's point was sharp. Rafa had a Toni saying no. Who's saying no to Carlos? Every great champion, the theory goes, needs a gatekeeper. Toni was Rafa's, Ferrero was Carlos's, and Carlos let his walk away. Then came corroboration from an even bigger name. Adriano Panatta, a former Roland Garros champion himself, went on record questioning whether Alcaraz had improved at all since cutting Ferrero loose. He wasn't even sure the career slam should be credited to the new setup rather than the old preparation. And he openly questioned the wisdom of that purchase for a 23-year-old. Real champions don't reward themselves until the job's finished, and Alcaraz's is nowhere near done. The prosecution's story writes itself. A kid with more money than discipline, drifting from the one man who kept him honest, buying floating proof he's lost the plot. If you want both sides of this case laid out straight, the accusation and the defense, and not just the outrage, subscribe. Except the prosecution has a problem. Their star witness never showed up. The one man who could ever convict Carlos Alcaraz, the coach who spent 7 years building him, 6 of his 7 majors won under that watch, who knows his work ethic better than any pundit alive, who was named the ATP's Coach of the Year barely days before it all ended, and who had every reason to be bitter, was asked point blank about the purchase. and Juan Carlos Ferrero refused to swing the axe. When misquoted comments made it look like he'd trashed it, he didn't sit back and enjoy the headlines. He went public and tore them down, attaching the official ATP transcript to prove what he'd really said and calling that kind of misquoting flatly unacceptable. The fabricated version had even twisted his words into a swipe at Alcaraz's upbringing. Ferrero denied ever commenting on his family at all. He sounded angrier at the fake story than at his former pupil. And what he'd really said was the opposite of a conviction. Buying a yacht, Ferrero shrugged, is neither good nor bad. He admitted he'd often been the one to say no to Carlos over the years, but stressed the final call, on this and everything, belongs to Carlos. A grown man has to make his own decisions, learn from the good and the bad, and live with both. For years, Ferrero noted, he was the voice of restraint in that camp, the one who said no. Now that voice is gone and the choices are entirely Carlos's. That is not the testimony of a coach who thinks his star has gone soft. The bitter ex-coach should have been the prosecution's dream witness. Instead, Ferrero became the defense's best one, and the hard evidence backs him up. Whatever that catamaran is supposed to prove about Alcaraz losing focus, the scoreboard refuses to cooperate. This is the same Carlos Alcaraz who, only months before the purchase, became the youngest man in history to complete the career Grand Slam, sealing his 7th major at the Australian Open. He's still the world's number 2, the same Alcaraz who steamrolled the field to win Doha in February. The distracted playboy theory has one stubborn flaw. Distracted playboys don't collect every major on the calendar before they turn 24. Then there's the vessel itself. It wasn't bought to throw parties. It was reportedly bought to escape, to give a young man crushed by the most punishing schedule in sport a place to recover, in a season where half the tour is breaking down from overwork. More than a dozen players withdrew from Wimbledon alone, in what one former finalist openly called an injury crisis. Rune, Musetti, Korda, Sinner himself, bodies giving out everywhere you look. Reframed that way, the boat isn't a symbol of a champion going soft. It's a champion trying to survive the machine. And the money? It's his. A reported $50 million fortune earned swing by swing. When did spending your own money become evidence of a crime? So what's the verdict? There's no crime here. The $9 million yacht is a Rorschach test. You stare at it and see whatever you already believed about Carlos Alcaraz. Think today's stars are soft? It's proof. Think a 23-year-old who conquered tennis has earned a boat? It's a reward. The debate says more about our discomfort watching a young champion enjoy his fortune than about any real decline. But keep one honest asterisk. The focus question didn't come from nowhere. It shadowed the Ferrero split for a reason, and the people raising it aren't all fools. The yacht didn't create that doubt. It just gave it 88 feet to float on. The real question was never about a boat. It's whether hunger and happiness can live inside the same person at the same time. And Carlos Alcaraz is betting his whole legacy that they can. Strip away the noise, and here's what's left. A 23-year-old who already owns every Grand Slam there is bought a boat with his own money, and an entire sport turned it into a courtroom drama. The prosecution had its witnesses. The defense had Ferrero, the career slam, and a schedule so brutal the urge to escape looks less like indulgence and more like survival. There's no verdict to hand down because there was never really a crime, just a young man living a life most of his critics would trade everything to have. But the debate underneath isn't going anywhere because it's the oldest question in sport. How much joy can a champion afford before it starts costing them? Toni Nadal answered one way: no boat, no distractions, nothing but the work. Ferrero answered another: give the man his freedom and let him own his choices. Neither is obviously wrong. Both helped build an all-time great. They simply believe different things about what greatness costs. Here's the chair nobody offered you. You're Carlos Alcaraz's coach. He walks in, fresh off the career Grand Slam, and says he's about to drop $9 million on an 88-foot yacht. What do you say? Greenlight it? He's earned it? Let the kid live? Or pull a Toni Nadal, look him dead in the eye, and tell him the boat waits until he's the greatest of all time? There's no safe answer. Drop your ruling in the comments. Greenlight or shut it down. And tell me what kind of coach you'd be. If you like tennis stories that put the accusation and the evidence side by side instead of just feeding you the outrage, subscribe. Because in this sport, the loudest headline and the real story are almost never the same thing.